Hey, welcome to the show. This might not be for you.
All right, happy Sunday. Hope everyone's doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, this has been another one of those really weird weekends, hasn't it? Everyone's been on edge, kind of waiting to see if this Iran war is going to pop off. Now we have Channel 14 reporting stating that um, Israel is to stand down and standing back, waiting on U.S. to build up enough sufficient forces for a quick and mighty strike on Iran, and they are aiming for regime change. So we're all sitting and waiting for that to happen. And then we had another shooting in the Minneapolis ICE protests. Um, Alex Preddy, I believe, was the gentleman's name. This is pretty messed up. So on one hand, I do agree. Um, don't interfere with a federal investigation, but at the same time, I think the precedent's been set that this ICE uh, they're going out there looking for trouble. They're being antagonistic and aggressive. From what all the videos I saw yesterday, it didn't seem to me that um, Alex Preddy was doing anything of any major antagonizing way to draw the amount of ire he did from ICE. The videos basically show, he starts backpedaling, hands up, one hand kind of down. I think it was maybe his right hand down and left hand up. Gets maced. The two women, he's kind of pushing them back, trying to help them out. And then, from what I can tell, he never drew a firearm. He never did anything of the such that Christy Nome was talking about. That woman is something else. Um, and yeah, and then he gets shot in the back, and then shot multiple times after that. So the question here is, we're seeing our government basically label this gentleman a domestic terrorist, and you can agree or disagree with his politics. And I mean, personally, I don't agree with leftist politics at all. I definitely now, after the past 6 7 months, I don't agree with far right wing politics. I was a hardcore blind follower of Trump for the past 9 10 years. Voted for him multiple times. Didn't vote in 20, like I think I said last episode, because I was in the middle of moving between states and I didn't want to do mail-in voting. So I voted for Trump in 16 and 24. I've been a registered Republican, and since I was 18 years old, um, I don't know if I want to be anymore. Seeing how Republicans are acting just as psychotic as the left, calling everyone panicans. Anyone with that has rational thought or thinks for themselves is being labeled as a traitor, what have you. And now we're coming up on midterms, and everyone's going to be labeled as, you're the reason this happened. And all you panicans, all you people that were never, Trump cultists. I don't even know what you call these people anymore. And the problem is here when we come back to the issue with the shooting yesterday. My opinion, it was a bad shoot. Um, I don't think he deserved to die. And then when you go and you look into, he was a veteran himself, and he worked as a registered nurse at the VA, and he worked in the ICU unit at the VA. Like, this is a person that, going into the medical field, obviously had a passion to help others. Um, Eyewitness accounts and the family say that he was a good person and he was loved, and he wasn't a radical antagonistic individual that he's being labeled to be. And we live in a world where you don't know what is true, you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. But one thing I do believe is that people are absolutely losing their minds in this country specifically. It's really scary that we live in a time where you basically have, lemmings on the left and the right just complaining and bitching at each other. Both sides have absolutely insane ideologies at this point. Like, we all want to get illegal immigrants out of here, but I also don't think we need to be targeting the people that have been here 20 plus years. Go get these people that have been here for the last couple of years first. Get rid of the criminals. you know, you're here illegal, you broke the law, you need to come, you need to at least present yourself at a minimum and go through the right process. When I think of I had to go through with my wife is not from the United States. She's been here about 15, 16 years now. And it took us about 8, 9 years to get her to her citizenship, and that was including, the government losing her. So you start with like a 2-year green card, right? Your permanent residency card, and then after that, they're supposed to send you a new card. I think it's a 5 or a 10-year card at that point, and they lost it in the mail. So we are contacting immigration services, and they basically told us, "Oh, it's not our problem. You got to pay for it again. It's another $500," and they lost it 2 more times. So eventually, a couple years back, we had to go to Mexico City, and my wife had she went to immigration basically every day until finally someone talked to her, and they were threatening to arrest her. She's like, "If you keep showing up here without an appointment, we're going to arrest you." Fast forward, and she got the citizenship, right? X thousands of dollars later, we went through the process. We kept everything legal, everything on the books as it should be, and that's just an aside, on just my opinion on the ICE thing. It's like, one, let's make it an actual pathway to stay legal. If these people choose to want to stay here and declare themselves. If they don't want to declare themselves and we've given them avenues to do so, then yeah, get them out of here. There's no question about that. I don't think that's fair whatsoever. Pay your fucking taxes and be a contributing member of society and assimilate to our culture. We're all different shapes, colors, and sizes here in the US. And I, for one, was raised to love and appreciate this country first and foremost over any other ethnic or heritage, affiliation or feelings I may have. This is just the way I was raised. This is not necessarily how any other ethnic person has been raised in the United States. So, that being growing up in the South is obviously, I think, had a was a great factor in that growing up in Georgia. But going back to the shoot, I for one don't think it was justified. And it would be one thing if like Noam got on yesterday and was basically telling everybody she believed, "Hey, we're looking into this, we're investigating." She should have just approached it with more grace and understanding. It clearly felt like she didn't even know that all this information was out there already, which I find hard to believe. This is head of DHS, man. And so, like, the way she lied, I can only take it as she lied to the faces of every American, as if we're fucking retarded and we don't know how to, discern and research and find information in an attempt to be objective. I would argue less and less people are remaining with the mindset of being objective because the polarization is getting really freaking intense here, and we're getting close to a point of no return. I'm just praying to God that we don't get to a point where civilians are firing on, federal law enforcement, because I think that's ultimately where things are going, whether they are manufactured to be that way, which I tend to believe at this point. There feels pretty Hegelian to me. It feels very much a problem, reaction, solution scenario with the solution already prefabricated and ready to be pumped out to the masses. It feels that way. I'm not saying it's that. So if you're going to come on here and try to tell me one way or the other, I mean, you're free to your opinion. I'm free to mine. Go fuck yourself. So with that said, I don't think this gentleman deserves to die. I believe that the government's going to try to cover this up the way they're acting, calling him a domestic terrorist. Uh, I haven't seen any real information on his background, on like how affiliated he is with the deep, 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 recesses of the far left. Is he Antifa affiliated? I don't see anything like that. I think everything I've seen is that he was just a decent guy. Even with Renee Good, you saw she had some fairly radical tendencies in her past, and her stances with LGBTQ and all that. I try not to go into those topics too much because I really don't give a shit, but they need to be said. There's an extreme mentality, and I would argue potentially even sick for some people, that get so fixated on these stances. They draw such lines in the sand that don't even make any coherent sense, in my opinion. Like, okay, cool, you live in a microcosm, no one gives a fuck, right? Like, we don't care. Like, I literally don't care. Like, I don't care how you live your life. Do whatever you want to do. Don't try to tell me what to do. And now we're seeing the right do that. Now we're seeing the right essentially gaslight us into believing that 2A is not absolute. Sure, you have constitutional carry states. You have states that put more red tape. Like here in Colorado, I think we have to take 6 or 8 hours of registered courses in order to get a CCW. But they do honor CCW from other states, so that's decent. But I can open carry in the state. I can go I can go on a hike and have my, I can have my FN-45 on my hip if I chose to bring such a ridiculously overpowered firearm for self-defense out in the wilderness. Maybe not overpowered. I love that gun. I probably would carry that weapon. But yet, nonetheless, you have the right to do that. And now they're essentially coming at us and telling us that we don't, and they're obfuscating that truth that like anyone that has voted Republican or votes for Trump, like that was one of the main pillars here, right? You even have the NRA coming out now and saying, absolutely not, this is not true. You guys are infringing on our rights, and it's an unalienable right. So what are we talking about here? I have a gentleman right now on X, and I don't think maybe it's a lady, I don't know, it's an anon account. I don't know if they have bad intentions or not, but they're basically telling me the moment that the individual was in the confrontation without ID or CCW present, that his right to concealed carry was null and void. And I looked it up. I don't have the statute on hand at the moment, but I did pull up the statute, and I don't believe it says anywhere in there that it's null and void. It basically says that if you are in a confrontation with law enforcement at that time, you're considered in violation. You are charged with a $25 petty misdemeanor, and there is the possibility that they will relinquish you the firearm and hold it until you go to court and present the proper documentation in which the firearm can be returned to you. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, and it's pretty troubling. And I fear for our country. I fear for the mental health of people. Like we just essentially, in my opinion, we just saw an unarmed, a non-threat, unarmed, or even you can argue disarmed man shot in the back. And by the laws that apply to the civilian, once the back is turned to you in a form of retreat, that is no longer a threat. And so why was he shot? And why was he shot so many times? The videos to me clearly showed he was trying to defend that lady that got maced, that got knocked to the ground, got bulldozed over. He was maced. With one hand, he was trying to kind of hold them back, and then with the other hand, he was trying to help her up, and then they took him down, and we all know what happened from there. So, yeah, I worry for us all. I hope that this isn't a sign of things to come and escalation to come. Seems that it is, but hoping people can read and have some discernment and learn a little bit more, keep cooler. Let's not be emotional when these things are happening more and more often. And I find myself very often reacting extremely emotionally in the first hour or so, and even when I'm having that overreaction, we don't have all the information available to us. And I need to do better at that. And I think we all do. I think we all need to do better at keeping cooler heads. If you talk it out with friends, family, or you have like little chat groups you're with, like try to hash it out there before you take your opinions public. I need to do a better job at that. I get pretty emotional and get pretty upset because I'm just sick and tired of the shit happening in this country. I mean, I feel like I was just joking with some friends. I feel like I've grown up in the best days of America and the absolute worst days of this country, all in my own lifetime. Like I grew up in the '90s, had like the most idyllic childhood. Early 2000s, even through college into 2010, everything felt fantastic. Life was great. And then we had the 2012, what was it, the Mayan calendar fears. I totally bought into that shit too, which was pretty hilarious. I was like super worried that like something's going to happen. And then here we are in 2026. So yeah, this is a pretty short one today. I apologize for episode 2. I was supposed to have a guest today. I was supposed to have a first guest of the show, but with the storms, obviously, we have to give concessions to those that need to take care of friends and family and make sure everyone's safe and sound. In particular, in the more impacted areas from this Arctic blast storm. So I appreciate everyone's patience, but my goal is to get to solid 1-hour episodes with guests. And again, the idea here is to highlight smaller accounts that I find interest in what they believe in. And their opinions are of their own. They do not represent my own. My opinions when I have these types of shows where I'm just sitting here by myself, these are my opinions. And so I just want to make sure that I distinguish that here, but I'm open to hear about any and all things. And I just pray for our nation that we all can stay cool, be level-headed, have discernment, pray for God to give us knowledge and to be able to see through the lies and obfuscation that we are just so inundated with. So with that, I appreciate everyone tuning in. I know pretty short one here, but just bear with me, please. Make sure you give me a follow at on X at might not be for you pod, and also I just opened a Upscrolled at might not be for you, as well as the YouTube channel might not be for you. So please be sure to subscribe, follow, like, comment, and if you have any different topics or specific things you want me myself to talk about, I would love to. And if I get some engagement here and people want me to do a live and just take questions and we just chat, I'm open to doing live streams and just doing some chatting. I'm just trying to find my legs here. So thanks again for tuning in, and I wish all of you well, and catch you soon. Thanks. Take care.